Hi everyone, happy Pi Day. Today is March the 14th, 2022. And I'm making this in response to a comment that JPhillips made on my video that was about QR codes and explaining to Lada from the astrology channel, or that's not her channel. Her channel is by her name, Lada Ducheva, I think, Ducheva. I just don't know whether the CH is pronounced She or Che in her language. But so I made another video about this whole QR code business, and the comment I received from JPhillips was interesting, but I was waiting to hear about what was creepy about the QR codes. So this one is going to be about what is creepy, because there is so much that is creepy, and yet there is so much that is how should I say this, done with so-called good intention, and I say so-called because okay, so first of all, my way of thinking is one where I can see really dark shit, and I can understand what certain people who roll out such dark shit tell themselves to justify that. I can also see how it can go horribly wrong. In that sense, it's like what was that bomb? Was it the hydrogen bomb or the nuclear bomb? One of those. You know, where the guy just discovered, like, oh, cool, we can do this. This is wonderful. Look at how much great stuff it can do. And then, Mara, is supposed to be like the Buddhist version of Satan, but not quite really, because, and I'm Catholic, but I've spent a lot of time at a monastery, a Buddhist monastery, and I hold both. Samara is like Buddhism isn't exactly a theology based or a theistic kind. It is not a theistic doctrine, nor it is not really doctrine either. I mean, it's anyways, I won't go off tangent on that. But in Buddhism, it's like this thing about there's the Buddha who's enlightened and who's the awake one that we all hold the potential to be, and then there's Mara, the control freak, and Mara seeks control and dominion over the whole world. In that sense, it's like the Catholic sort of thing of the Trinity God, the Father, the Son, the Spirit that dwells, and the Satan, right, that like destroys. Though I'm kind of iffy on that bit because, well, not like I like Lucifer. Well, I do like Lucifer, the show, that guy. Oh my God, he's just such a wow. He's, yeah, I really like Lucifer, as in the show Lucifer. And the way he plays music and all that. But anyways, I'm going way off tangent. So when you think about QR codes and that technology of QR codes, okay, first of all, so I have a kind of weird ass thesis about why, or weird theory about why I think, or how I think, no, why actually the QR code thing even came out. So some years ago, when the whole like TSA, what is it, preferred traveler program, or like trusted traveler, sorry, it's called TSA trusted traveler program, where you enter your data into the system basically, and you can fast track through all those lines where they make you take off your shoes and you this and that and whatnot. And the reason you're allowed to do that is because, in a sense, you've already been verified. Like if something goes wrong, like they know, they know how to track you down completely, and B, they have and when I say they all the time, the they that I'm speaking of is that collective of control structures. Some people refer to them as the elite. However, I don't refer to them as the elite because they may hold certain, powerful positions in society, etc. But I think I'm so thankful to a guy named Francis Hunt for introducing me to the term control structures, because that is in fact what they are. They are the control structures that seek to control and put things in a box so that that neat little box can be properly controlled. And yeah, sure, these people have a lot of resources, and guess what, it's people who have a lot of resources in the first place that want to preserve that kind of order, so that there's not some random mob that like just completely f's with their assets and everything. So I get that. I understand what is behind that. Not that I'm, condoning the kind of really evil and nasty things that some of these control structures impose, by way of like, infringing on liberties. And I say this more as a, when it comes to health procedures, things should really be a matter of cost benefit analysis for the individual, and that's where I that is something that's just dark and evil. But I will go there. I'll go there in a minute, because I'll tell you kind of where this whole QR code business began, sort of. So back, I don't know, maybe was it in the early 2010s or something? But anyways, by about 2016 or 17 or so. Well, earlier there was the TSA Trusted Traveler program, where you basically you have to do a retinal scan. Okay, you have to do a retinal scan. You have to give them a retinal scan, so to speak. Like back in the day, it was just fingerprints was enough. But because if you do a full fingerprint test, just think about it, right? If you're completely like contained in a detention center, say, and they have your fingerprints on record, they can unlock your phone, they can do whatever the hell they want to do with you, basically. But this was even deeper. This was, with the TSA Trusted Traveler thing, you get your iris scanned. Now, a lot of people, or not a lot, but, a significant majority of Trusted Traveler types, I've heard from a few of them that they don't like this because, like, sometimes they have like an eye problem when they put their face in the scanner that much and all. They don't like it. Well, okay, so what is this? Take a good look at your own. What is this called? What is this body part called? Your iris, right? The brown, blue, if you're blue eyes, whatever color your eyes are. Those dots and that pattern and that thing, that's very unique, right? I mean, not very unique, it's unique to you. And as such, it's your unique signature. Now, that is sort of the underlying mechanism, okay, of the QR code. Because here's the deal. If the system can read the QR code, it can read your eyes. It can get that. It's the next step of that biodigital merge and evolution. I'm using the word evolution, but you want creepy? Use your imagination. Okay, because my imagination can get pretty creepy. So anyways, okay, so so in my reply to the Lada video, I said, well, okay, so if you have a QR code that is unique to you, right, you can, like, say, walk into Target, get whatever you need to get, and then you don't even need a checkout person, because just as you leave the store, all of those items QR codes are linked to your QR code, and you're finished, and it's like debited from your account or credit card or tokens or whatever, assets on a blockchain that you're like working from, and your debt tokens. Yeah. It's just using off of that. Yeah, well, debt tokens, or trust fund baby tokens, whatever the hell it is, right? Whatever your situation is. So yeah, so that's one element of it. From a yeah, okay, now I'll use the word from an elitist, from a, not even, no, from the standpoint of people, from the haves as opposed to the have-nots. The view is, well, think about how much money this would save. You have like zero theft or zero capability of theft. It's really hard to have crime, because it's almost like a Minority Report type of life. You can't have, what else? From an insurance and actuarial standpoint, my goodness, if everything is linked like that, you don't have that human element of, reporting whatever, pre-existing medical conditions and etc., etc. From a eugenics standpoint, just think about what can happen. That can get creepy, right? From their standpoint, it's Darwinism, or Darwinianism, where it's like, well, survival of the fittest. But do we really want to play gods? Well, we don't, but they do. They do. And that's not something that's new. That has been going on in various in various shapes and forms since Charlemagne, or before. Since way before, right? That's not anything new. That's been going on since time immemorial. That's been going on since Buddha and Mara. That's been going on since Jesus and that guy, told him, like, jump and your Father who's in heaven will save you, right? That's been going on since that time. Yeah. Is it creepy? Well, yeah, it's creepy. It's very creepy. There's so much that can go wrong with it, especially in the beginning. How do you transmit QR codes? So here's the thing with the QR code, right? And I heard about this as like a first-person account, so that's why I know it's not BS. So this person had given their vaccine passport at the border, and then this person's vehicle was just approaching, and the guy just like go on through, and then the person who was driving said, like, wait, don't you need to? Oh no, because you've scanned the QR code once. Now that those beams or those dots or whatever the hell, it just comes through. Why? Because 5G. You see. Now, okay, before you think I'm a complete nut job, and if you are watching this, who knows, maybe you don't think I'm a nut job, maybe you're entertained by nut jobness, or at least eccentricities, or whatever, or maybe you agree with this yourself. But okay, I'm not saying 5G in the sense of like, oh, 5G. No, I'm talking about it strictly in terms of the capability that the 5G technology has to enable these kind of technologies, okay, to transmit that kind of data at that kind of speed. Am I saying that I love 5G? No. I mean, everything is yes, no, maybe, you know, because I'm not. I have this tendency to see both sides and to hold both sides. That's just who I am. I guess you could say I've read the contract in terms of incarnating on this planet. You know, it's a sexually transmitted fatal disease. None of us are getting out alive. And I believe I've reincarnated probably. Yeah, definitely, yeah. I've turned up on this planet for a fixed amount of time to learn whatever it is my soul decided that it wanted to learn, and then it's going to turn up in whatever other dimension that it turns up in to learn another thing. You know, so I'm not particularly attached to ideologies and things. Yeah, I do have a very, you know, protective mama bear side, where I completely see how the QR code can become our very own yellow star of the 21st century. Yeah, I went there. Yeah. And at the same time, I get that, well, if that were to happen, maybe that was my trip when I, you know, signed my contract to incarnate this time of, you know, and my trip was, okay, maybe I want to practice being a little bit more of a sheep, and I want to be maybe I want to learn how to how to go in an albatross and be cool with it, knowing full well that this is temporary, you know. And by saying this is temporary, I mean, like, you know, the this shell, you know, this if you watched Altered Carbon, this sleeve. So maybe that was my trip to learn in this lifetime, or maybe my other trip was, you know, to tell people, is my trip to be a rebel and to like fight it and to like die fighting or be put into a mental asylum. You know, maybe I was put in one already in my past lifetime, and I was like, you know what, maybe this time I want to try the other way. Who knows? I have no idea. Okay, I'll only figure that out after the incarnation is done, I guess. But anyways, where am I going with this? Yeah, 5G. So 5G has this ability, right, to transmit technology very fast. And yeah, it has this very, what do they call it, low frequency radiation waves. There's a great book, by the way, if you want to listen to it on Audible, because I don't know if it's a physical book, but it's called Death by 5G. Oh my God, that book is brilliant. I think it turned out, I think it was released in 2018 or 19. It was released before the pandemic, and I happened to listen to it during 2020 because suddenly, as of 2020, I had all this amazing amount of time because I have to drive around everywhere. And believe it or not, it is so much easier. Well, again, it's so much easier, knock on wood, if you have resources and the ability to turn on a dime real quickly and set up, you know, 3 computer stations for children to attend Zoom and not have to do uniforms and everything else, and not have to drive, and, you know, and all that. But I got to, that 2020 year and the lockdown was really, it's weird. It afforded me the time to really educate myself on so much, not just, you know, the disparity, because that I became very attuned to right off the bat, like within, you know, the first 2-3 days, because all this happened, and you know, and suddenly, like, we got emails from the children's private Catholic schools that, you know, okay, everything's on Zoom, this and that, and luckily we, like, right away set up everybody's computers and everything, and then I was like, holy shit, everybody cannot do this. They can't. Like, what about people who, what I'd heard back then was that like the average American has only $400 in savings, etc., for an emergency and all that. And I'm thinking, how? Like, and what if you know, like how are these people going to just afford a sudden setup for all these children? And what if they lose their job then too? And you know, and aren't able to, like, you know, live on investment income, say, or any other means? How 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 are people making it? What are people doing? How are people doing this? And that's when I started to sort of take that walk down the rabbit hole, or a rabbit trail, actually, you could say. Anyways, part of that was also I had the opportunity to listen to a lot of audiobooks, and you know, and I have been doing my doctoral anyways, and all that was digital, and you know, and over this thing, over the internet too. Which means no driving to class back and forth, and everything at the library is available as a digital download and convertible, accessible to audio form, so I could garden and listen to books and articles, and it's brilliant. Anyways, so the Death by 5G book, it was written in about 2018 or 19. This person had put out the theory about like how horrible it is for your health, and you know, and oh my goodness, like if you've read any of, or listened or read of any of Dr. Joseph Mercola's stuff, it's chilling all the things that you know, that this technology can do to your health. It does do to your health, actually, and it's very subtle, and it's very sort of long range, and yeah, there is the whole, you know, the possibility of getting cancer and all that. Again, like I said, like, you know, I read the contract, it's a terminal life. And I figure, like, my options are, you know, barring accident or airplane crashes or bombs, right? My, like, what am I gonna die from? Diabetes, cancer, heart attack, right? I don't know what other illnesses are there, but those are the big three ones, right? If you are like blessed enough to live a long life, ultimately your heart's gonna pop, right? Basically. So it's like, all right, so it's like these are my options, essentially. So and again, you know, sorry to be so flippant about like dark stuff, but that's how I roll. I have Pluto in my ninth cusp, 10th house, with Uranus in my 10th house. It's a lot of, if you're seeing this, and my Pluto is is in direct opposition with Sun, Mercury, and Venus. So that's your full diagnosis there, Lada, if you're listening. Or any astrology friend who's listening will understand then why I'm like chill with dark stuff. Okay, so so this book, it was really brilliant, and it spoke about like all the stuff that can happen. But I'll tell you the one, not flaw really. I mean, you know, this author is not a precog who can know like exactly how things are going to play out. But this author said that, like, you know, you'd be forced to stay at home and to be like signed up for your 5G. This is how, like, you know, and it's a great book. But I happened to be listening to it, you know, ahead of time. That was one benefit. And then the second thing was, as I was listening to it, what I was also hearing was these complaints about like not having enough bandwidth, and the need for faster bandwidth, the need from people, right, who have a household full of children who are like trying to get online, and somebody drops and this, that, and things are more expensive. Gee, wouldn't it be so much nicer if we had 5G? And then it clicked for me. that, oh, okay, so I get the game. This is not about, nobody's gonna force you to, well, they will force you to do shit too. But who they will force to do stuff is um, sort of, the resistance at the very end, right? It's almost like that altered carbon uh, series, where it's like, well, the ultimate resistors are the ones who will be tortured, penalized, what is it called, othered, segregated, their trajectory, career trajectory will be messed up, all that. But in the beginning, they want people to volunteer their everything, right? Like, they want it to come from us. Oh, um, oh, we want more aid. But do you realize that's going to increase the national debt? We want a way to get out safely. Well, here you go. Oh, we don't want to keep getting tested all the time. Oh, there's your option. Either you can upload your thing with your QR code, or or you get tested. Well, which is more convenient? They'll leave it to the people. And here's one thing. Again, back to the QR code thing too. In 20, so back first it was the TSA and the eye scan thing, the retinal scan. And then in 2017 or 18, this thing had come out, and I actually got it. I got this ID. It's called a real ID. You have to, again, it's sort of like that TSA preferred traveler program thing, where you have to turn in like your, or not turn in, but copies of your like assets, or like your permanent record type things, your house title if you have one, or like a house where you've lived for a certain number of times, so they want to establish that that under any circumstance you're findable, trackable, whatever. And it has to be with the DMV, see, because that's interesting, because have you noticed that even though each DMV, like each license plate, every state has a different license plate, you cannot actually have a license, like if you have a California driver's license, you cannot have a Nevada driver's license and another driver's license. You cannot have driver's licenses of different states. That is one thing that is like federally, like, I don't know if it is federal, but it's certainly, the system certainly seems to be, because I was just thinking, so because I was just thinking this randomly, like completely like different, where I said, oh, like if I buy a house in this state, like do I have to then also get a different driver's license? And I was asking it as a complete naive question, because I was like, oh shit, I don't have to get another driver's license for another state. This person, was like going to handle all the logistics for that, said, well, but like, would that be a secondary, a primary, or psycho? That would be secondary. No, then, you have one, like you have to give up one license before getting another. And then my wheels started turning, that, oh, wait a second, so it's not a state license, it says California driver's license, but it's the one system that's kind of federal. Anyway, so back to this real ID thing. It is why did I get it? Because if you they were going to make this thing where and I don't know, because I've not gone anywhere since all this began, but apparently to travel interstate, you were going to need your driver's license and your passport or your green card or whatever. And you could bypass all that if you had your real ID. And I thought, gee, that would be real convenient now, wouldn't it? Because Otherwise, if I have to go from one state to another state, then I have to go to my safe deposit box and get my passport, and what a hassle that is. So, what, no, never mind. I will just, and yeah, that's a Dexter ringtone because I love Dexter. I'm very interested in dark psychological stuff. Anyways, so, um, so, where was I? Completely lost track. Yeah, so I said how it's so inconvenient, because then I have to go to the safe deposit box and I have to get to my passport. This way, if I just get the real ID, then it's easier. Of course, I had to turn in a lot of documents for that. And then I also thought to myself, well, it's all fine and dandy that I've lived in one place for a long, stretch of time, but what about people who don't live in one place for a long stretch of time? What about people who don't have a stable place to live? In course of my doctoral studies, I have met with children actually, and it just breaks my heart to even think about this, that their parent lives in somebody else's house on the couch or something, and I'm like, wow, and then I get these absurd things where oh yeah, run a diagnostic to figure out if this person can get a ADHD diagnosis so they can get these pills and whatever. And I'm like, some of these kids have such complicated lives. You think if you don't know whether you're going to be on this couch, this person's couch, or that person's couch from week to week, you think you're going to have that attention span to focus on your homework and shit? Come on, really? This is, and I think Dr. Jordan Peterson said it best, where he said, as clinicians, we like to think that people who come to us have mental health issues, but I like to think that they have complexity management problems. And I completely, the former finance business person / currently student of clinical psychology, rather. I was going to say psychological education, but no. That former business finance person really likes that idea of people have complexity management problems. They don't have mental illness. Well, sure, maybe some do. Okay. Well, yeah, actually, a very, very small percentage do, actually. And a lot of times it has a lot to do with trauma and a lot to do with, with stuff that has happened, stuff that maybe their soul decided to take on in this journey. But anyways, so back to that real ID thing. I was thinking, well, so how do people who don't live in one place for a very long time, how do they get along and get by and all that? And so, of course, this Real ID program, at least in California, it didn't have much of uptake actually. Even though I got one, not many people did. And a lot of people actually found it quite intrusive to have to, show up with their house title, car title, and this and that. And it was kind of, in that sense, a bit discriminatory, right? How are you going to, what if you don't? What if you can't? See, this is where this vaccine QR code business has been, it has been it has removed that barrier, right, of whether you have assets or not. And additionally, this is where I'm like, whoa, this is freaking brilliant in its psychopathological, devious deployment business. It's just, you gotta admire the brilliance of these psychopaths. So, where now it's like, well, you don't have to have an asset. All you have to do is be terrified that you'll be sick if you don't take this. because like you'll see in the news that everybody, like people who don't take it are like sick and dying and all that. Or so either be terrified or be forced, because like, oh, if you don't take it you lose your job, and oh shit, I need my job. Or what's the other thing? Or be shamed, basically, like, what, you didn't take it, what, are you crazy? So wow, that's freaking brilliant. And you don't need to own anything in order to have, you don't need to like really show anything. You don't even need to pay anything to get a shot, right? Because it's all free. And then what do? You upload it to that whatever free, another free app. It's not free. Your soul is going to be tied like a debt slave to it. Yeah, that is ultimately where it'll go. But yeah. So I think what they did was they tried all these different mechanisms, and they didn't get enough people within the albatross, And so then this was like the I hate to say the final solution of this way you can get as many people into the fold as possible, and then you have everybody on this thing. And then once you have people on this thing, and now again, from that other standpoint, it's like, well, you can know what sort of a profile person is approaching you as they are approaching you. Just think about that. Because even though these days, like, they keep saying all these restrictions are lifted because now they're pushing a different story. And I'm sorry to say it like that, like a different story. That's totally not the spirit in which I mean what is going on right now. Okay, that's not the spirit in which I'm saying that. But in terms of like, because one thing I've noticed in America, they don't really say real news on the news. You go from channel to channel to channel, they harp on the same thing continuously. It's like, do I need to see this whole day? What's happening? One thing happens, and you hear about it 24/7. The same thing, in the same words even sometimes. That bit is hilarious. Anyway, so, yeah. So even though they say that, now it's, now people are claiming that like all these restrictions are lifted, if you actually try to go and book a flight or whatever, you will see that even though these so-called restrictions are lifted, what kind of things it says? Oh, you have to download this app. That's a must. Like, this app has to be, and you have to, so you can either upload the card, upload the thing, upload a medical certificate giving your this thing, or a religious thing, or whatever you do, and upload or your the nose swab result. You have to upload all that, or whatever combination of things that they have dictated as a private enterprise. And that, by the way, is another very, very creepy thing, because and I highly encourage you to watch a video by George Gammon when he interviews an elderly man by the name of Judge Napolitano. And anytime I said Judge Napolitano, people seem to think this is a woman, but no, there's a man, Judge Napolitano, and he was interviewed by George Gammon on the mandates, and this was several months ago. And he spoke about how it was unconstitutional, but more importantly, Judge Napolitano spoke about how this business model was exactly the way Stalin did it, where it's like, he didn't say anything has to happen. He said the businesses have to impose that, and then the businesses imposed it, and then it becomes a thing of like, if a business says, if I say, to enter my private property, you need to have a QR code scan at my gate, and then you can come in. Well, I'm well within my rights to do so, right? But if I'm told to do that by the government, that bit is the unconstitutional bit, you see? Because the government can say, oh, we're not telling you to do it. No, I mean, we're making our government workers do it, but we're not telling you. We're telling them, and they can. That connection is a Stalinistic thing. And that is something that is deeply lost on American people, because especially American people who have not lived in another country or who don't know people from another country, they take for granted the liberties in this country. I'll go off on a completely different tangent if I go there. But anyways, so these days, even though things are lifted, you have to either upload this, that, or the test or whatever. But the end result is you have to generate a QR code for yourself. Period. On your phone. Like, if you don't have that, you're not going anywhere. So nobody's saying you have to take something into your body now, okay? Because I think they know now that, they pushed it as far as they can go, and if they push it any further, they'll lose an election or whatever. It doesn't even matter which party. It's like, yeah. So they know they pushed it as far as they can go. And now they're at a point where they're like, oh, shit, you know what? Let's kill the next round of people and the next crisis that we'll create. But I think we've done enough headcount reduction for this go-around. Oh, God. I don't know if I want to be reincarnated on this planet. Though I don't know. There's some very beautiful things about this planet. Yeah. And, there are some very, very nice people on this planet, too. So it's not all dark. There's certain times in our history, if you've read the book, The Fourth Turning, there's certain times in history when this sort of, these forces unfold themselves, or, unveil themselves for humanity to see. Yeah, so I think because they've taken it as far as they can go, now it's a point where it's like, well, okay, so you need this or that or that, but then ultimately what you're left with is that QR code, right? And you see how it's like, well, we tried this way, we tried that way, we tried that way, now we'll give you these options. Because just think about it. If you tell someone at the get-go to do this and why, there will be a healthy majority of people who say, hell no. What if, what if my QR code is stolen? No, I don't want my iris to be in this system. No. Why am I being watched all the time? People are not going to want to do that. Yeah, there are some who will say, like, whatever, screw it. You know what? Yeah. I have resigned myself to an Orwellian life, or that, the other guy, what's his name? Oh, shit. Let's finish charging. Who's the other guy? Not Orwell. Brave New World guy. Oh, yeah, Aldous Huxley. My daughter is reading his book. Thank you. Thank you. I always thank my charger, because it's a good thing to do so. Because if you respect, yeah, it's a weird quote, but oh, speaking of, okay, this is a tangent, but this comes from Jim Rickards' book, where, have you noticed how it goes ding, 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 ding? That's a behavioral thing, right? Where it's like, well, it won't stop dinging until you do what you need to do, which is click this, right? That's another thing. That's behavioral psychology. That's nudging. So, anyways, I don't know if this was dark enough for you, JPhillips, but or if this was creepy enough for you. If it wasn't, leave me a comment, and I'll share more of my darkness with you. or more recommendations, more book recommendations for creepy books and all the other things that could go wrong on this planet with this digital ID system. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.